In today's video, I'd like to talk about the parallel key signatures that occur in music. So earlier we've talked about relative key signatures and like maybe, for example, the relative minor. And so let's go ahead and take a look at that. And we said, for example, the relative minor. And the relative minor was basically if I had something like A major, I had the key signature of A major, and I found, well, what is the relative minor of that? And that would be, the relative minor there would be, so the relative minor, F sharp minor. Okay, and that, how did I get that? Because the relative minor is the 6th degree of the parent major scale. Okay, and so the idea here is that I have same notes, the same notes, but I have a different starting point. So maybe a different way of saying that would be saying like a different root or a different tonic. And the tonic is sort of a new word that we haven't used before, but I'll just, for the moment, I'll just say different root. And tonic just basically means 1 in music. So a different 1, a different starting point. Instead of my 1 being an A, my 1 is an F sharp. And if I took a look at those two scales in my relative minors, let's see, so A major here would be A, B, C, D, C sharp, I apologize, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then back to A. And if I took a look at F sharp minor, I would have F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D, E, and then back to F sharp. And that really points out that they're the same notes, okay? So we're really kind of driving this point home. They're the same notes. We just really have a different root note. I don't even want to say they're in a different order because that's not correct. They are in the same order. I'm just have a different starting point. Imagine them being on a circle and I just shifted the circle. So now we're ready to really understand parallel key signatures. Let's kind of write out the rules for parallel key signatures. Parallel keys are going to have the same root note, and different notes. So different notes all together. Same root note and different notes. And this is an important thing to distinguish. When we look over here at the relative, we understand that it had the same notes, but a different root. And over here, we're understanding that it's got the same root and a different notes that are incumbent to the scale. So we kind of see this almost inverse relationship. So let's look at an example of a parallel key signature, and we'll go ahead and stick with A major here. And we know that A major is going to be, well, we just wrote it out, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and back to A. Now let's take a look at A minor, and A minor is going to be the parallel key signature here, and that would be A minor. And A minor is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and A. And the kind of takeaway thing here is to really think about this. There's really no direct relationship between A major and A minor other than that they have the same starting values, that they're both really starting from A. Obviously, we can kind of consider that idea of, well, how did I make my A minor scale? Well, one of the ways is to flat 3, 6, and 7, right? I could have flatted 3, flatted 6, and flatted 7, and that would have also given me my A minor scale. So there's a little bit of a relationship there, but they're not directly related in general. We usually don't use these two scales together in the same song because they're just two different key signatures. Let's kind of think about, well, we know A major, it's the key of A major. And if I think about its relative minor, so the relative minor would be F sharp minor. And what is the parent major? What is the parent major to A minor? Well, that would be C major. That would be the C major key or C major scale. And so it's kind of also interesting to think about, and this is one of the great parts about music, is when we can start to recognize some patterns and we start to see that, oh, okay, wait a minute, there's an A major and C major. And in the same respect, if I had A minor, let's put those in a different color. If I had A minor and F sharp minor. Okay, now what happens is A major to A minor, again, this is parallel. This is sort of our parallel relationship. If I think C major to A minor, this is, and let's do that in a different color as well. If I think C major to A minor, that is going to be relative. If I think A major to F sharp minor, that is going to be relative as well. So all of these in here would be relative. Now there is no real direct relationship between these two guys. There's really no direct relationship. The only thing that maybe you could say is that, well, F sharp minor is the relative minor to A major, and then maybe in that respect you're sort of finding sort of a little bit of a relationship here, okay? And maybe you could also look at something and kind of understand the distances between the notes. Well, A to C is 1.5 steps, 1.5 steps, 3 halves. Let's see, what about A to F sharp? I'm sorry, I should actually think about the other direction, right? We should think about that as F sharp to A, if we're considering going up. And we recognize that that is also 1.5 steps. Okay, so this is called the parallel key signature, and it's basically having the same root note. It's the same root note, but we have a different set of notes, which is very different from the relative, which is going to have same notes, but a different root note.